Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna, Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirvisesha Shunyamadi Paschit Yadeshata. So we are going to continue to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5. We are on text 11. We were reading the purport to this text, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I'll just read the translation quickly. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of Narad's words as follows. Because Narad Muni came to the Haryashvas, the 10,000 sons of Dakṣa. They were doing austerities in a sacred place, and so they were almost purified. When Narad Muni understood that they were doing austerities to get married and have children, so he was giving them transcendental knowledge by using an analogy. So they understood his meaning. The word Bhu, the earth, refers to the field of activities, the material body, which is a result of the living being's actions, is his field of activities, and it gives him false designations. Since time immemorial, he has received various types of material bodies, which are the roots of bondage to the material world. If one foolishly engages in temporary fruitive activities and does not look toward the cessation of this bondage, what will be the benefit of his actions? So the Haryashvas, they could understand Narad's Muni's on this purport. The Haryashvas, the sons of Prajāpati Dakṣa, could immediately understand the purport of Narad's instructions. A Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for such enlightenment. We are trying to enlighten humanity so that people may come to the understanding that they should work hard in tapasya for self-realization and freedom from the continuous bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease in one body after another. Maya, however, is very strong. She is expert in putting impediments in the way of this understanding. Therefore, sometimes one comes to the Krishna consciousness movement, but again falls into the clutches of Maya, not understanding the importance of this movement. So Srila Prabhupada is saying this is the reason that he set up this Krishna consciousness movement. This movement is started by Lord Caitanya himself, the Sankirtana movement, the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada is saying this movement is trying to enlighten everyone in matters of self-realization. Of course, it's not easy because we have been in this material world for a very long time and Maya is very strong. So someone may begin on this path, but one may fall down, but at least one begins. That's glorious in itself. You know, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that even a little advancement on this path can save one from the greatest type of fear, greatest danger. So we'll go on to the next one. Eka eveshwarasturyo.
Eka ekevesvarosturyo.
Bhagavan svashraya paraha.
Bhagwan so ashraya paraha.
Tam adrishtva bhavam pumsa.
Tam adrishtva bhavam pumsaha.
Kim asat karma bhir bhavet.
Kim asat karma bhir bhave.
Narad Muni had said that there is a kingdom where there is only one male. The Haryashvas realized the purport of the statement. The only enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who observes everything, everywhere. He is full of six opulences and fully independent of everyone else. He is never subject to the three modes of material nature, for he is always transcendental to this material creation. If the members of human society do not understand him, the Supreme, through their advancement in knowledge and activities, but simply work very hard like cats and dogs, all day and night for temporary happiness, what will be the benefit of their activities? Narad Muni had mentioned a kingdom where there is only one king with no competitor. The complete spiritual world, and specifically the cosmic manifestation, has only one proprietor or enjoyer, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond this material manifestation. So, who is the supreme enjoyer?
Krishna.
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna.
Yeah, he's a supreme enjoyer. Why? Because he is the only.
He's the only cause and he's the only proprietor of everything.
That's right. Everything belongs to him. This we pretend things belong to us. That is our illusion. But actually, everything belongs to Krishna. The Lord has therefore been described as Turiya, existing on the fourth platform. He has also been described as Abhava. The word Bhava, which means takes birth, comes from the word Bhu, to be. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.19, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. The living entities in the material world must be repeatedly born and destroyed. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is neither Bhutva nor Praliyate. He is eternal. So does Krishna come under the influence of the modes of nature?
No.
Why?
Because he is above them. He is spiritual. He's Sachitananda Vigraha.
He's unborn.
I'm sorry?
He's unborn.
Yeah.
Ajaya.
Ajaya, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And the modes belong to him. They listen to his, they're working under his orders. In other words, he's not obliged to take birth like human beings or animals, which repeatedly take birth and die because of ignorance of the soul. So why are we taking repeated birth and death?
Because we are entangled,
desires.
we are covered by the three modes, and because of our desires, and we are in this material world due to our karma
and ignorance.
Material desires,
desires and our ignorance. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is not subjected to such changes of body, and one who thinks otherwise is considered a fool. Avajananti mamuda, manushim tanum ashritam. So when Krishna comes to this world, does he change his body?
No. He comes as he is. Yeah.
That's right.
He comes in his transcendental.
Yeah. Never takes a material body, never changes. Narad Muni advises that human beings not waste their time simply jumping like cats and monkeys without real benefit. The duty of the human being is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Prabhupada is right, mentioning the word duty. It's our duty to understand God, because we have an eternal loving relationship with Him. We have simply forgotten this relationship. We have to revive it. So in this human body, it's our duty to revive this relationship with Krishna. We have so many duties. So because we are in this material body, and so we have duties towards family, community, society, country, to the whole world as such. So many duties. Duty to our friends, but we also have our prime duty, that is to understand our relationship with God.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So before, in a few texts back, we read about Narad Muni was saying about Dakṣa to his sons that you don't know the real purpose why he is asking you all to increase the population. So does that mean that Narad Muni saying that Dakṣa was having his purpose and that they don't have the the real knowledge, but Daksh had it, and he was right when he was increasing the population, but they may not be right. Does that mean that?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't completely follow.
So Daksh was, given the benediction by Lord Vishnu that yes, you can, and he was given, okay, he was sanctioned. Okay, fine, you should be helping to increase the population and follow Lord Brahma instructions. But unlike Daksh, his sons were not probably given the sanction. Does that mean that? Because
Doesn't
Narad
really
Muni
mean the
comes in.
sanction. It's
Okay,
because they were getting
so
purified. They were in
yes,
this
they
place
were.
doing the
Yes,
austerities.
yes,
So
yes,
Narad
yes.
Muni saw that they are almost getting purified of material desires. So that's why he's telling them, don't get again into this material entanglement. You can make the best use of your human life to get liberated instead.
Yes, I understood this point that they were having these material desires because they were attached to their father, right? But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to understand is, was Daksh also in that material desire? Was he following the spiritual desire of following Lord's instruction, his father's instructions? Because Narad Muni said, you don't know the actual purpose.
No,
So does
Daksh,
that mean, yeah,
see, okay, what happens is we have material desires. So it was Daksha's material desire to engage in sex life. But he's a
okay,
devotee of the Lord and he's very powerful and he's done so
okay,
many austerities. So the
okay,
Lord is giving him a position by which he can fulfill his material desire.
okay. So that was his material desire, right?
Yes,
Daksha's material. Okay, okay,
yes. So
okay.
we can understand that the demigods also, why they're in these positions of management, control, you know, because they are
Yeah,
great personalities, they are devotees. They're very
yeah,
qualified personalities. They've done a lot of pious activities. They've engaged in devotional service. But they have
okay,
some material desire. That's the reason they are in those positions.
okay. Got it, got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Puman
thank you. Hare Krishna.
naiveti yatgatva. Hare Krishna.
Sorry.
Pumanaivaiti
Puman eva
yadyatva
iti yat gatva
Vilasvargam gato yatha.
vila
vilaswargam
swargam
gato
gato
yatha
yatha
Pratyagdhama vida iha.
pratyagdhama
pratyadhama
vid iha
vidaiha
Kim asat karma bir bhavet.
kim
kim
asat
asat
karma
karma
bhi
bir
bhavet.
bhavet.
Narad Muni had described that there is a will, a hole, from which having entered one does not return. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of this allegory. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary system called Patal been seen to return. Similarly, if one enters the Vaikuntha Dham, Pratyak Dham, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which, having gone, one does not return to this miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in a temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profit? As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15.6, Yad Gatvana Nivartante Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. There is a region from which, having gone, one does not return to the material world. This region has been repeatedly described. So Krishna is saying, because in this material world, we keep hearing that, oh, you go to the heavenly planets, what's the use? You're still going to come back to the earth. You go to it's just like going up and down like a Ferris wheel. But repeatedly, Krishna is speaking of the spiritual world in Bhagavad Gita, where once when one goes there, one never comes back to this material world. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tattvataha, Tyakpa deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorajana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And Krishna is saying, one who can just understand that his appearance, activities are transcendental, one can go to the spiritual world and doesn't need to come back to the material world again. If one can properly understand Krishna, who has already been described as the Supreme King, he does not return here after giving up his material body. This fact has been described in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Paman naiveti yad gatva. He does not return to this material world, but returns home, back to Godhead, to live an eternally blissful life of knowledge. Why do people not care about this? What will be the benefit of taking birth again in this material world? Sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a demigod, and sometimes a cat or dog. What is the benefit of wasting time in this way? Krishna has very definitely asserted in Bhagavad Gita 8.15. So here Prabhupada is putting up a question to everyone. Why not take up Krishna's proposition, Krishna's Krishna is saying, you just understand me and you come to the material world. Come to the spiritual world. You can leave the material world for good. So Prabhupada is putting this question to each and every one of us. What good is there? Why are you wasting time in this way? Why sometimes take body of a human being, sometimes demigod, sometimes cat or dog? So 8.15, Krishna asserted, Mam upaitya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. One's real concern should be to free himself from the repetition of birth and death, and attain the topmost perfection of life by living with the Supreme King in the spiritual world. In these verses, the sons of Dakṣa repeatedly say, Kim asat karma vir bhave? What is the use of impermanent fruitive activities? So the Haryashvas are understanding what Narad Muni is trying to say, that the king is the Supreme Lord. And so they are understanding that to go to the spiritual world is better rather than sometimes than being in this material world, sometimes as demigod, sometimes as human being, sometimes as cat, or sometimes as dog. So they are understanding what Narad Muni is saying. And as far as the earlier question, Deepika, which you had, you can see that how Krishna, he places everyone so beautifully and so perfectly as per one's desires are.
Yes.
So one's desires are fulfilled, and based on one's karma, of course, because one needs to have that qualification.
Yes, and I was wondering the same thing. They probably have done some karma, I was just thinking of that when you were saying. I was like, wow, they are just blessed, by him. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
So how everyone is working under his direction, how Krishna is placing everyone, like making certain people meet because it's certain desires, certain karma coming together.
Yes. And this is so fast for them, I mean, at an early age, probably, so wow, they are so blessed. Probably very good karmas. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Nana Rupat Mano Buddhi.
Nana Rupa Mano Buddhi.
Sveriniva Gunanvitam.
Sveriniva Gunanvitam.
Tanishtam Agatasyeha.
tat nishtam
Tam
agatasyeha
agatasyeha
kim asat karma bhir bhave.
kim
kim
asat
asat
karma
karma bhi
bhavet.
bhavet.
Narad Muni had described a woman who is a professional prostitute. The Haryashvas understood the identity of this woman, mixed with the mode of passion. The unsteady intelligence of every living entity is like a prostitute who changes dresses just to attract one's attention. If one fully engages in temporary fruitive activities, not understanding how this is taking place, what does he actually gain? A woman who has no husband declares herself independent, which means that she becomes a prostitute. A prostitute generally dresses herself in various fashions intended to attract a man's attention to the lower part of her body. Today, it has become a much advertised fashion for a woman to go almost naked, covering the lower part of her body only slightly in order to draw the attention of a man to her private parts for sexual enjoyment. The intelligence engaged to attract a man to the lower part of the body is the intelligence of a professional prostitute. Similarly, the intelligence of a living entity who does not turn his attention toward Krishna or the Krishna consciousness movement simply changes dresses like a prostitute. So, what the Haryashvas are understanding is the intelligence is going from one object to another. How can I enjoy it? Let me enjoy this. Let me enjoy. How can I manipulate this? How can I manipulate that? For my satisfaction. What is the benefit of such foolish intelligence? One should be intelligently conscious in such a way that he need no longer change from one body to another, because this intelligence will still keep us here in the material world. As we were hearing the story of Puranjan and Puranjani, the queen, she was the intelligence, and that it was material intelligence, so our intelligence is material, how I can enjoy this material world. And that's what we are searching for, life after life, birth after birth. But if we can just take up Krishna consciousness, then we can purify our intelligence and use this same intelligence to get out of this material world. Karmis change their professions at any moment, but a Krishna conscious person does not change his profession, for his only profession is to attract the attention of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and living a very simple life without following daily changes of fashion. So here Prabhupada is saying profession, well, a devotee may keep changing his professions, like for his income, but the mood that Prabhupada is trying to say, that his consciousness is that he wants to get the mercy of Krishna. He's always chanting the holy name. He's always serving Krishna, trying to get Krishna's attention. In our Krishna consciousness movement, fashionable persons are taught to adopt one fashion, the dress of a Vaishnava, with a shaved head and tilak. They are taught to be always clean in mind, dress, and eating in order to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, because before, when Prabhupada started the movement, all the devotees were staying in the temple. Now the movement has changed because, yes, there are devotees staying in the temple, but many are congregational based because many are grihast, married. So, so they may not have shaved heads because they are going out to work and different things. But the mood, what we have to understand is that the mood is to attract Krishna's mercy by chanting Hare Krishna. That's what the devotee is always doing. His consciousness is, how can I please Krishna? What is the use of changing one's dress, sometimes wearing long hair and a long beard, and sometimes dressing otherwise? This is not good. One should not waste his time in such frivolous activities. One should always be fixed in Krishna consciousness and take the cure of devotional service with firm determination. So, cure of devotional service, because we have a material disease. What's the material disease? The disease is we are thinking we are the body. And what's the cure? Devotional service. So it may not be easy. That's the reason Prabhupada is saying firm determination. As Rupa Goswami also says in the Updeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, that one needs to be enthusiastic, determined, patient. One needs to cultivate these qualities to engage in devotional service. Questions, comments?
Yes. So this is something what we have been always reading, right? Now from lately, be in the spirit of service, be Krishna conscious, and keep doing devotional service. Keep doing, keep chanting. It will purify us and we will understand our goal. We will know he will bring us towards our purpose, real purpose of life. So yes, bringing us to the real purpose, washing away everything, clarifying so easily everything to us. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. That's
the material disease. Sorry, the material disease is that we think that we are the body. Is it?
Yes. No. Yes.
That's that material disease?
Yes.
Or engaging in sense gratification. Is that material disease?
Yes, but we are engaging in sense gratification. Why? Because we are thinking we are the body.
Okay.
That's why we are engaging in sense gratification. If we understand we are not the body, we will stop doing it. But we are not able to understand it. That's why we continue doing it. And that's the reason the cure is given for us to hear and chant, so that we can get cured of this disease. Is that okay?
Yes.
Tatsanga Brahmshiteshwaryam.
Tatsanga
Brahmshiteshwaryam.
Samsarantam Kubharyavat.
Samsarantam Kubharyavat.
Tadgatir abhudasyeha.
Tadgatir
abhudasyeha.
Kim asat karma bhir bhavet.
Kim asat
karma bhir bhavet.
Narad Muni had also spoken of a man who is the husband of the prostitute. The Haryashvas understood this as follows. If one becomes the husband of a prostitute, he loses all independence. Similarly, if a living entity has polluted intelligence, he prolongs his materialistic life. Frustrated by material nature, he must follow the movements of the intelligence, which brings various conditions of happiness and distress. If one performs fruitive activities under such conditions, what will be the benefit? Polluted intelligence has been compared to a prostitute. One who has not purified his intelligence is said to be controlled by that prostitute. Now, why prostitute is being said? Because actually our intelligence should be to please Krishna. But here we are trying to please our senses. That's the reason this word is being used. Because Krishna is our supreme creator, supreme Lord. So it's our duty to engage in devotional service, our duty that our intelligence should be engaged in how can I please Krishna. But right now our intelligence is engaged otherwise, or how can I enjoy in this material world. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.41, Vyavayasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Those who are actually serious are conducted by one kind of intelligence, namely intelligence in Krishna consciousness. Bahushakha anantascha buddhayo vyavasayayina. One who is not fixed in proper intelligence discovers many modes of life. So one who is determined that, yes, I'm going to become Krishna conscious, then his intelligence is fixed. He's determined, I'm just going to please Krishna. Otherwise, what happens? Our intelligence says, let me do this. I'm going to be pleased in this way. Let me go do that. I will be pleased in this way. going in all sorts of directions. Thus, involved in material activities, is exposed to the different modes of material nature and subjected to varieties of so-called happiness and distress. If a man becomes the husband of a prostitute, he cannot be happy. And similarly, one who follows the dictations of material intelligence and material consciousness will never be happy. Yeah, because our intelligence tells us, oh, do this material thing. And then the mind will take over. Yeah, do it. You're going to enjoy it. But then we enjoy it for a certain time and then we feel, oh, no, let me go on to something else. Let me go on to something else. So one must judiciously understand the activities of material nature, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kardaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are actually carried out by nature. Although one follows the dictations of material nature, he happily thinks himself the master or husband of material nature. We are being controlled by the modes. We don't realize it. The modes make us act. And we think, no, I'm independent. I can do whatever I like. We don't, it's so subtle. It's so subtle. We don't realize how we are controlled by the modes. Then one may say that, oh, well, the modes are making me do the thing, so I should not be responsible for my karma. No, we are responsible because the desire is ours. Then, based on the modes that we are in, we will fulfill our desire in different ways. Like the desire maybe to eat. Now, then what modes we are in, goodness, passion, or ignorance, we may eat different things according to the modes then. Scientists, for example, try to be the masters of material nature life after life, not caring to understand the Supreme Person, under whose direction everything within this material world is moving. Trying to be the masters of material nature, they are imitation gods who declare to the public that scientific advancement will one day be able to avoid the so-called control of God. In fact, however, the living being, unable to control the rulings of God, is forced to associate with a prostitute of polluted intelligence and accept various material bodies. So we are trying to control this material nature. We think one day we will become the supreme controller. That's never going to happen. We are trying, so many different ways. By one invention to another invention to another. We are trying to think we will completely be able to control this material nature. But we are trying to compete with God, but we can't. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13:22, Purusha Prakriti Sthohi Bhunte Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasad Yoni Janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil amongst various species. If one fully engages in temporary fruitive activities and does not solve this real problem, what profit will he gain? So we are just here engaged, entangled with the modes of nature. And here, here Prabhupada is saying that, what gain will we get just getting entangled in modes of nature? Let us begin trying to understand our real identity by hearing and chanting. This is the process that is given to us in this age of Kali. This is what Krishna is saying to us in Bhagavad Gita. This is what we are hearing in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Narad Muni is telling the Haryashvas. So I'm just going to see how long is this. Do you all want to read this one, or you all want to stop, or what do you all want to do?
I think we have 5 minutes. We can finish this one.
Shrishti Apyaya Karimayam
Shrishti Apyaya Karimayam
Vela kulanta vekitam.
Vela kulanta vekita.
Matasyatam avikyasya.
Matasyatam avikyasya.
Kim asat karma bhir bhavet.
Kim asat karma bhir.
Narad Muni had said that there is a river flowing in both directions. The Haryashvas understood the purport of this statement. Material nature functions in two ways, by creation and dissolution. Thus, the river of material nature flows both ways, creation and dissolution. A living entity who unknowingly falls in this river is submerged in its waves. And since the current is swifter near the banks of the river, he is unable to get out. What will be the benefit of performing fruitive activities in that river of Maya? So the river is this material nature, Maya, creation and dissolution. One may be submerged in the waves of the river of Maya, but one may also get free from the waves by coming to the banks of knowledge and austerity. Near these banks, however, the waves are very strong. If one does not understand how he is being tossed by the waves, but simply engages in temporary fruitive activities, what benefit will he derive? So in Brahma Samhita 544, there is this statement, Shishti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha, Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga. The Maya Shakti Durga is in charge of Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya, creation and dissolution, and she acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord, Mayadhyakshina Prakriti, Suyate Characharam. When one falls in the river of nations, he is always tossed here and there by the waves. But the same Maya can also save him when he surrenders to Krishna or becomes Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness is knowledge and austerity. A Krishna conscious person takes knowledge from the Vedic literature. At the same time, he must practice austerities. So, austerities in relation to Krishna. Taking up the hearing, chanting, fasting on Ekadashi, following the principles of Bhakti Yoga. To attain freedom from material life, one must take to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if one very busily engages in the so-called advancement of science, what benefit will he derive? If one is carried away by the waves of nature, what is the meaning of being a great scientist or philosopher? Mundane science and philosophy are also material creations. So one does not need to, we don't need to get so entangled into science or philosophy. People will still continue to do whatever the modes we are in. But what we need to focus on is hearing and chanting instead of, like condemning or saying what's happening. Rather, just focus on what needs to be done. One must understand how Maya works and how one can be released from the tossing waves of the river of nations. That is one's duty. So the world will go on, whatever philosophers or material improvements have to be made, but engage everything in Krishna's service. Engage in hearing and chanting. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's just explaining the analogy here, right? Narad Muni,
the Haryashvas
the analogy.
understand. Yeah. The Haryashvas, they are understanding the analogy. They understand. Narad Muni said there's a king, so they understand that the king is the Supreme Lord. And he said the prostitute said they understood that to be the material intelligence that will keep us here. Then the river, which is going in both directions, they understand that to be the material nature, which is going in the direction of creation and destruction. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you